Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast this week. Allie Falcon, I'm so pumped you're here.
Me too.
Oh my gosh, we have so much to talk about, but we were just laughing, you guys, if you're listening, before we started to record, because we're like, I think that both of us lead like a double life. Like, we have a life of e-commerce and products and like stuff like this, but then we have like this whole ranch life behind the scenes that we were laughing. We blame it on Jessie Jarvis because she made it all like so glamorous. Like, Jessie, it's your fault. But really, it's not always glamorous. So we both had really funny things happening before this podcast. So do you want to tell me what you were doing before you came to record?
Yes, so I don't want to paint this in a light that I am any sort of cowgirl because I am absolutely not. I was raised on a ranch, but I'm like not great help. But my dad and my husband were weaning right outside of our house, and they were also like taking some cows to the sale. Well, my husband had one tied down up out in the pasture, and she was humongous, and so he could not drag her all the way to the pens, obviously, with his horse. So he called and said he needed somebody to come up with the truck to help get her into the trailer. And I was telling Ashley, I was like, I literally have no bra on. My hair is up in a clip. And I was wearing like pajamas and had Adidas slides on, and I trucked it out to the flatbed and drove out into the pasture, and I'm literally out in the pasture pulling a cow into the trailer. And my husband is like asking me a ton of questions. I was like, I have to go to a podcast interview. Are you done with me? And so I run back to the house and curl my hair, and here we are.
I think that's so funny. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about like everyone who listens to the podcast. You guys, when you just heard that story, please message me on Instagram because I bet 50-50 the audience doesn't know what weaning means. Or, like just like that whole scenario. So what does it mean when you're weaning cattle? Let's tell everyone who doesn't know what that means.
Oh, so like they're pulling the calves that are a little too big for the mamas, taking those off to the sale. And so our mamas can start putting weight back on, and we make a calf crop sale. So yeah, there's a lot of fallen cows outside of my office because my studio is right outside of our home on our
Yep.
place. And so like seconds before this, my husband, they pulled away, and there was just like mama cows bawling all over the place, which is also kind of makes me sad.
I know. It's like when you grow up on a ranch, because I grew up on a ranch too, and that sound is a horrible sound because you feel bad, right? Because they're separating, but like
Yeah.
it's a part of life, it's a part of the process. And when you're a rancher, like that's also your payday. Like that's how
Yes.
you make money. It's not like you get a steady income anywhere else. So no,
Right.
that's a big day. So I think it's so funny that happened before you were recording. And then I rushed in here. I was telling you, I'm like, well, today is teeth day for our horses. So right outside the office, I have 6 horses lined up, and the vet and his assistant are here, and they're doing teeth. And so most people don't even know their horses get their teeth done, like that there are horse dentists that do horses' teeth. And I had one of our employees was here earlier helping me with some lighting and stuff here, and so he's like, I had no idea. So he went out there to watch this whole episode. Well, then they started to do sheath cleanings, and so I'm gonna just leave it at that, and you guys can
You don't
Google.
want to jump in and explain what that is to our listeners.
It only happens to the boys. I'm just comparing that. So
Boys are crap.
go ahead and Google it. So then that starts to happen. And so poor Keegan, I think his face went white. He was like, "What? Like this happens too? Like you have to do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
And then here we are sitting, you've got your neon light behind you. So yeah,
so
that's such a good way to put it. Like there's just the rolling hills and all of that is the glamorous part of it, but nobody sees you braless out in a pasture with a hair on top of your head. They don't.
exactly. Exactly. Okay. Well, I think everyone's enlightened now at this point. So we can officially get started. But okay, so we take me back. And I think this is so like the conversation I want to have with you, like this leads into it so well because I see so much today that like our Western world, and you and I have known each other from the Western world for a long time, but the Western world and like the mainstream world of boutiques and retail and fashion, like they have intersected in the most awesome, glorious way in the last, I'd say like 18 months, maybe even longer.
Yes.
I think that the American public and not even just American, but around the world, everyone is enamored and just so intrigued by the American cowboy and what it means to have, pieces of the West or turquoise or whatever it might be. And so I love that we're going to get to tell your story because today I think boutiques are such curated retail experiences. Products are a dime a dozen. You can carry anything, but the most successful retailers I know carry products that tell a story. And you have an amazing story and amazing brand. So why don't you get started? Tell me, how did you first realize that you were an artist and you had this amazing gift? Where did this all start to come from?
Well, thank you. Um, I don't think I ever considered myself an artist growing up. I literally never took an art class. Like I look back at high school and I'm like, how did I get away with not taking art? I was so like in volleyball and stuff. And then in college, I think I took like an actual art class. And every time I think about as a child and in college and stuff, like those like literally few little classes I took, I always had so much fun. But still when I went to college, I didn't, like most of us didn't really know what I wanted to do. But um I was filling out the questionnaire for this, and this was one of the questions, and I was kind of typing like, well, my mom, like she was a teacher, but in the summer she painted and she would like pick junk up out of the pasture and like paint something beautiful on it or like somehow like put a clock inside of it, hang it on our wall. Like she was always making stuff and I don't really feel like I've ever given her enough credit for that, but she totally like kept me in that like always seeing something that in seeing beauty and stuff or reimagining stuff and giving things new life. And then my dad, he just kind of as a side gig to farm and ranching always built saddles and wagons and stuff growing up. And I had 0 really interest in that, honestly, until I was in college, and I got married when I got married to my husband, I was really just kind of looking to I was always such a daddy's girl, and I kinda wanted to reconnect with my dad because it was, like, kind of I feel like he was, like he loves my husband, but kind of, like, mourning the loss of his, like, only baby, and so, like, when I would come home, I'd be like, "Hey, show me how to tool leather," and we would kinda fart with those projects. And that's kind of how I think I really tapped into like the artist side of it because I was very much like, I've got to have a job that's makes money. And so I was like in corporate marketing, really not on the graphics side of anything, more in the marketing side of things. But then when I was tooling leather on the side, I was like, oh, this is so fun. And when Instagram first kind of was becoming large, and I post pictures of my stuff and people would ask to buy it. And that's really kind of how I got started was tooling leather just for fun. And then I just kind of built a network like through those little side hobbies that I had. I would I turned like every hobby I've ever had into a job. I'm that girl. Um I mean, you've known me for a long time. You've seen me pivot a lot. Um, but I really loved creating, but I also really hated the part where like I would make this handbag and I would just like I wouldn't be able to stop until like what was in my head was like finished on the table and I
Mhm.
loved that part, but then whenever, I posted it and I was seeing everybody get so excited about it and that was fun. But then came the part where there was 50 people that wanted that same purse and I was like, "Ew, I don't want to make that again?" So not a
Yeah.
great it drove my dad mad. He'd be like, "You're literally turning money away." So I kind of like stopped that business model of taking orders and just was like, "Nope, I'm making what I'm going to make because that's what like fuels my fire and if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't." And because also like the people I got to where I like didn't want to leave my house because it was everywhere I went people were either wanting to place a custom order or they had a custom order, which no matter how long you tell people they're going to have to wait for it, in 2 weeks, they're going to be like, hey, I've got a wedding coming up. Do you think you could finish my bag in time? And that made me an absolute anxious, nervous wreck. So be kind to your artists out there. They're not well. Um, but anyway, so that kind of snowballed and like to make extra money on the side. This is going to feel all over the place, but I was writing for the fashion pages for Cowgirl magazine And I just developed such a really great network of friends and artists and business owners. And because no one cared about Allie Falcon then, but they did care about Cowgirl Magazine. And so, for lack of a better word, I kind of just used that title to build that network. And then became really good friends with a lot of those people.
Yeah.
And I pivoted from when I did that for, I don't know how many years I told leather, but when I got pregnant with my first daughter,
Mhm.
I was like, this is not even, no matter how much I charged for a bag at that point, I felt like I was like, the bills were like, by the time I paid bills and all the other crap that comes along with adulting, I really didn't have that much left over to keep like building on.
Mhm.
I wasn't enjoying the process as much anymore of the hand making. And my fat ass 9-month pregnant self was laying on the floor in a pile of pink leather. And I just was like, no, no more. What am I doing differently now? And
Mhm.
so I had kind of a little background of graphic design. And that's when I
Mm.
out Society 6. Society 6 is a print on demand company. Some people may be familiar with it. And it's a deal where you can upload your art and they put it on every product under the sun.
Mhm.
So then I developed a lot of really neat relationships with like Disney and um, Urban Outfitters. And there was just a lot of neat little collaboration projects I got to do through
Mhm.
Society 6. And I don't upload new art anymore to it this day, and we'll kind of come back to that. But um, it helped me kind of get out of that handmade hamster wheel that I was in and start thinking bigger picture. Like, I could actually draw prints, put them on clothing or whatever I want and have them made. Like, I don't have to hand make it, which still handmade things are amazing
Yeah.
and I'm such a huge supporter. But for like where I saw my business going and it being more sustainable, because it just wasn't
Mhm.
in a sustainable place. So started really investigating manufacturing and utilizing all those amazing relationships that I had built over the years to learn more about it. And I drew some prints and put it on a fabric. And I think the first thing I had made as a actual manufactured product were pajamas,
Mhm.
which look a lot different than they do today, my current pajamas. But I'm sure people were like, okay, you build handbags and then you're like on Society 6 and now you're making pajamas. But you know what? They all stuck with me. Like, who, I don't know. My
Yeah.
customers are phenomenal and insane. That's all I have to say. But they did. They stuck with me. And then I finally was like, okay, focus your energy on all this because I'm sure most creatives can relate. Like, our brains, if I need to be drinking this bottle of water, I'm going to be like, nope, I'm going to paint my nails. If I need to design something, I'm like, nope, I want to play with my baby in the floor. I just, no matter what I need to do, I want to do the other thing.
Yes.
So, gosh, I've talked forever, but yeah, that's kind of like the whole story. How I ended up here.
Yeah, well, oh my gosh, I love this. I think that everyone listening can relate because creatives, artists, entrepreneurs, I think we're all squirrels. I think we all kind of struggle with that a little bit, like, oh, I'm here and then I'm there, and that's a blessing and a curse. But
Yes.
I have to think about this, like in my mind, because I've loved your stuff and I have so many different like random. I think from all of your stages, like I know I have a leather bolo tie.
You too. It's a very
What I
good
have
thing
a
to do.
computer bag that has, like, from size 6. I have my pillows on my couch are from your collection. Like, I just have really random stuff. But I can't think of another person that I know that I'm like, "Oh, that artist, like, whatever they make, I want a piece of that," because it's just so cool and it's such a vibe. So that, to me, what you've built is so unique and so incredible, and I love that you're giving everyone kind of hope that it's okay, you can be a squirrel and, you can like, you've hit this artist dilemma of every artist has to come to that point where they realize they can't make everything on their own, like, they have to start mass producing, and
Right.
Society 6 is such a good stepping stone for that, but I love now everything's back in-house for you. Everything is new. So
Yes.
tell me about your business today because you do direct to consumer retail and you wholesale to boutiques. So tell me about the product line today and how that's evolved once you started your own manufacturing from moving on from Society 6.
Right. So I guess in 2019 is when I had my daughter, and that's kind of when Society 6 that like from 2019 to like 2021 or so is kind of was like peak Society 6 season for me. And then when I started manufacturing, I want to say in either 22 or 23, I didn't wholesale immediately. Everything was just online. And that was back in the heyday of Instagram. And I was able to move product super, super well. And then 20 I don't remember what year everything changed and Instagram changed the algorithm and reels were introduced or whatever, and it just kind of everything came to a screeching halt and my sales were just like terrible. And just seems like anytime I would hit a peak there was just like, something like Instagram changing and you're like, when we're back down, and so uh now today everything I offer is like, so I think back then I couldn't afford to do a whole line, so I was literally like I didn't take out loans and all that stuff, which that there is so much truth to. You got to spend a little money to make money because I was not good at that. I was like, let's figure out how to do everything possible ourselves. um and by ourselves I mean me.
Yeah.
And whenever everything changed, I started doing more wholesale. And whenever you do wholesale, you mean you need line sheets. It was another learning curve. I had to learn everything about wholesale that because I had no idea. I'd never been to market, nothing. And in I guess 2023 is whenever I did my first market. And as I'm building my line sheet, that's kind of when it occurred to me like there was just not enough cohesiveness to my whole line because literally everything is thrown together and like on one piece of paper or a couple of pages. And I just was looking at it and I was each product on its own had its strengths and beauties to it. But I just thought this is not where I see myself going. This needs to be more cohesive. This needs to feel like an actual like fashion line. So there's been little pivots along the way. And so now I thank God for wholesale. It got me out of the valley that putting all my ducks in one row of Instagram got me in. And so I have mostly sets, dresses, cardigans are some of my best sellers, pajamas. So it is mostly clothing and accessories. I do every now and then pivot and go, oh, I want to make earrings. Like I did do that. That was super fun. But I do try to keep myself like on the straight and narrow of like, okay, this season we're designing, 10 new pieces of clothing and 20 new accessories or, scarves and stuff. So that's mostly what it looks like now. And I hand draw all the prints and graphics that go on everything. Um, I come up with the body styles, send measurements in, and then sample things until we get them just right. And then they go off to market with me where we meet lots of amazing businesses. We have a showroom now at Dallas Market Center on the 10th floor, which is such a, it feels unreal to me talking about being in the pastures, looking like
Right?
a complete wreck. And then like getting to walk into my showroom and feeling so glamorous.
Yeah.
Very thankful, but wholesale definitely changed the game for somebody like me. And so that's where we're at today. I did have candles at one point. We still do jewelry a little bit, but I try to keep most of my focus and I want to do more collaborations. I have talked with Haley with Western and Co. We've talked about doing a collaboration and stuff. So I want to do kind of work with, the people I idolize and see how both of
Mhm.
our styles can meet and make something amazing and new. And that's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah. Are you ready to kick off the new year right? I hope you will join me. It is my favorite time of the year. Cue new planners, gel pens, trying not to write like a 12-year-old boy. That's what we do during the Best Year Yet challenge. But better yet, we help you plan out your year from scratch. And we go far beyond just goal setting and the regular things that you put on the board that you say you're going to do, but maybe don't do every single January. Instead, January 6th through the 8th for the Best Year Yet challenge, we're going to spend 3 days together. You and I, Sarah Burks, Jeff Fenn, our team here at the Hub, helping you map out real strategy for the new year, talking about what's actually trending and working right now across our industry. Everything from mapping out content, mapping out inventory strategy, sales strategies, growing your team, or just making sure you have the systems and processes in place for you to be the CEO of your business this year and not just the hustling entrepreneur. Let's face it, I just want to make sure you have more profit and peace, not only throughout the holiday season, but all the way throughout 2026. So come join me during the Best Year Yet challenge. It's completely free. Members, non-members, doesn't matter. If you're listening to this and you just want to start your year off a lot stronger, come and join me for the Best Year Yet challenge. All of the links are across our social media in our show notes. Be there or be square. Let's start this new year off right. I love that. I felt so lucky to get to be there around your grand opening in Dallas Market Center, which was so fun. So I can't wait to be back in January and see you shine there as well. But let's talk about that wholesale journey for a little bit. Again, when I think about boutiques that are doing really well, they're typically carrying lines that have a story, like it's an experience, or I've got this really cool, unique thing that no one else has. And I feel like that's what you offer. So if you looked across like the stores that are carrying your pieces right now, what do you think the most successful stores have in common in terms of how they're marketing and how they're telling that story and setting themselves apart?
That's a great so it's wild to me because there's either boutiques that are like, this is like my secret and I don't want anyone to know about, these pieces because I don't want anybody else to carry it. But in my experience, all of my stores are such huge supporters of me as a brand, and they use it as a selling point, and it does not that, like, we are not in competition with each other. Like, they use it as a selling point. Like, she is from Texas, in the way that they display everything together, because it does, like, that's the whole point, is like when I design the pieces, like, they either if they can't be worn together, they still look beautiful on a rack together. And the way that people tag me and talk about me, it's just like so surreal. And then people get so excited that, like, oh my gosh, I get to actually shop it in person, because I have been online all
Yeah.
these years. And I do have a bulk of my stores are brick and mortar stores. And I do
Mhm.
think they do those probably do the best, because just my experience, I've never really done the brick and mortar thing, and I've never done a lot of shows. But going around Top this last season and watching just the reaction of people in person and people seeing it all together, and just like it was, they were squirreling like, oh, look at this, oh no, look at this, that
Yeah.
whole, like, when your people find you kind of thing, and
Oh,
they have no idea you exist, and they're just like, oh my god, I get like that when I find an artist that I didn't know about.
yeah.
So, yeah, definitely displaying all my things together. And I have, learned things along the way. There's people in wholesale that just, like, wanted to buy like a t-shirt from you. And then there's the people that are like, no, I want the whole thing. And I do think that those
Yeah.
do better, because like their stores like feel more cohesive, and they actually like met and know the person that made like drew it, thought of it, and
Yeah.
have a relationship with me, because I am very hands-on. Like, I do not want people to feel like there's 10 people to get to me. I want them to be
Yeah.
able to come to me. And there are things that happen. Like, things sometimes, may have a hole in them, because the crap like that happens. And I want
Mhm.
them to come to me, and I'm going to fix it in the best way I know possible personally. And it's, you're not
Mhm.
going to be dealing with somebody from another country on a phone.
Right. I think that's, what you mentioned about the boutiques. Some boutiques are like, I'm going to keep my secret in. I mean, our whole motto has been community over competition. So I'm very like anti that mindset. I'm very like,
Yes.
hey, the more people we can attract to this brand or to shopping boutiques in general, the more the merrier, right?
Yes.
So I see boutiques like really leaning into that and finding a lot of success being in community over competition. But you are such a collaborator. Tell me about community over competition on the brand side of things and on the wholesale side of things. Like you mentioned collaborating with Haley and you've done all these other collaborations. How can people who are artists or who do wholesale or creatives that are listening, how can they do more community over competition?
Well, I think that I had this conversation with if y'all follow Lady Logan, she's fabulous. And we do have like a similar like we like similar fits and we like a lot of the same colors, but she
Mhm.
is definitely like a more funky hippie eclectic style and I'm a little bit skewed more like southwestern boho. The first time she ever like launched a product, she was actually helping me out and working for me at Dallas Market in a showroom that I was in while I was on a different floor selling. And just came to me and she is the sweetest person in the whole universe. And she was like, Allie, I feel so guilty. I didn't really realize my products were going to be ready. Like, do you care if I sell them? And like, I don't want to step on your toes. And like, we both have sets and da da da. And literally was so even flabbergasted she even thought of that. But I was like, Logan, if I fail because you succeeded, that is not your problem. That is an in-house problem. And she was like, okay, but it's nice to be considerate of all that. But I think that finding what your strengths are in like for example, like Haley's amazing with leather at Western and
Mhm.
Co. And both of our styles are pretty different. She's got more of like a minimalist, like classic equestrian leathery style, and I'm a little bit more southwestern and funky, and I play with more color. But like, how can I draw like a super amazing print that resonates with her? Use color palettes that make sense for her because
Mhm.
I play with all colors of the rainbow. I like muted, I like bright, I like everything.
Mhm. Yeah.
So bringing your strengths to the table, but also like pulling their strengths in. And like, I want to play with like a leather color that she wouldn't normally use, and um, line it with something funky, those kinds of things. So, bringing what people come to me for is like my fun prints, right? And so whenever I collaborate with somebody else, I need to figure out a way to either dial it down to make it fit their brand, but still be a piece of me, or turn it all the way up. So
Mhm.
um and I totally agree with like collaboration over competition. It's
Yeah.
so important. There is no reason for us to be hating on nobody. Just mind your
Right?
business.
Right. There's more than enough to go around, and you said something,
Absolutely.
we've gotta go like, new people recently discovered you, and we've gotta go into something you just casually and humbly mentioned a second ago, and you were like, "Oh, yeah, I was in Round Top." And literally, you told me, you were like, "Oh, yeah, I've gotta reschedule the podcast because I've got this thing in Round Top." And you said nothing else. And then I can't even remember who I was talking to, and someone's like, "Do you know that Allie got invited to Round Top by the Junk Gypsy girls to be in their front yard?" And I was like, "What?" Like, she's so humble. She was just like, "Oh, yeah, I'm in Round Top."
Oh.
Like, no, like the whole deal. So tell me about being invited by Junk Gypsy. I'm sure most people listening know Junk Gypsy, probably watch their TV show. Like, they're the queens of Round Top. Tell me about that experience.
Oh man. So I'm gonna try to keep this as short as possible, and I'm not gonna name any names, but I went to Round Top one year with a influencery girl, and I always go to Round Top to shop. I don't go to network, to be 100% honest with you. I don't
Yeah.
want to run into anyone in the fields. Like, Um, and she spent all of her energy like trying to rub elbows with the gypsies. Well, they're busy. This is literally they are so busy all the time. And
Yeah.
I was like low key horrified that we were just constantly at the junk gypsy store. And I finally was sitting in the car waiting on this girl to she was just lingering around the store waiting to run into one of them, and I was waiting in the car for this girl thinking I'm never going to do this again ever again. And she 2 hours later comes out, gets in the car, and I'm very angry because I like to shop. You mess with my shopping, you know? And she goes, well, they're thinking about hiring me for sales and blah, blah, blah. And I like threw it into gear and I was like, I don't want to work for Junk Gypsy. I want to be Junk Gypsy. And this was like probably 8 years ago.
Wow.
So I have like never really like have a relationship with them,
Yeah.
but I just am such fans. They're so innovative.
Yeah.
They've create like when you go to Round Top, you are in the middle of nowhere. Um, and what they have like brought to that show is just so incredible. It just seems like everything they touch turns to magic, and they're just nice, humble people. Um, so I just kind of developed a relationship with them once I started wholesaling. They expressed interest and they carried a lot of my stuff. And then this last I guess I invited them to my grand opening. Just honestly, I didn't feel like they probably would have time to come, but I threw it out there and sent Amy a text, and she texted back and was like, hey, I don't think we're gonna make it. Would you ever want to do a pop-up though? And I was like, oh yeah, and I'm thinking like, oh, like show up at the store one day and just have a rack of clothes. And they're like, oh no, like for the whole show. And I was like, you mean like where Kendra Scott was? Like, that's so cool. And I was telling Ashley this earlier when she asked me about it, but it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And whenever Amy texted back, and I'm honestly thinking she's so busy, she's probably going to forget it. It'll be fine. But I'm already having a meltdown. I'm so excited. And my husband like woke up and I was just like this on my phone. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning and he's like, what are you doing? I was like, the Junk Gypsies, they've invited me to Round Top for the whole show. And he was like, all right. And like rolled over, keep me humble. Um, and so yeah, we got it all arranged and they're all so wonderful and nice, and like they work so hard to make sure that that show is just kills, and their team of people is absolutely amazing. The store is such an experience, and so I was just honored to even like, you know, I would have laid in a trash can outside of Junk Gypsies and sold my stuff, to be 100% honest with you. And so it was so nice, and like I got to just meet so many people that
Yeah.
like their people. We have like a great crossover, so that's another good collaboration over competition. Like there's such a great crossover of people, and honestly I've never really wanted to do Round Top like for the whole show because it's such a rodeo with the weather, but man, I would do it again tenfold, just like meeting people and seeing people get excited about my stuff. And
That's so awesome. I'm
yeah.
so proud of you. Like that is such a big deal. And I laugh when you're like your husband has no idea because
Yeah.
like Instagram's a small world and I think our industry can be a small world where we all feel like we know each other, but I think it's also evident like there's a whole nother world out there who has no idea who we are.
Oh,
Like there's always
100%.
more than enough opportunity to tell our story, right? And to build a brand.
Yeah,
So,
and it's also like weird because like coming from small towns and like ranching towns,
mhm.
um, you get so used to like I don't want to say dumb it down, but like I am never come out and like am braggadocious or give myself like the credit of like the hard work that I've put into this, and I think a lot of people probably think like where we live, because I kind of dial everything back and down, and oh yeah, like I design clothes, I draw stuff, and I'm sure like there's either the people that are like, no, like you have a real brand, that's really exciting, and then there's people who are like, how's your
Yeah.
arts and crafts, and they're great, thank you. um
That's exactly right. That's
and
exactly
I'm
right.
fine with that, but it is nice to get out there and actually rub elbows with the people that just are your people, that
Yeah.
appreciate design and appreciate the maybe not handmade but hand drawn nature of something, and want to know like what were you were thinking when you drew this, and I may not always have a great story, but
Yeah. It's so good. But that it just goes to show like the power of storytelling and marketing. And that's what
yes.
brand building is all about. It's all about amplifying like a true story that people can connect with on a personal and emotional level. And that's what makes it sticky. That's what makes you stay top of mind. So if someone's listening and they're like, man, Allie, like best advice for those listening on how they can build a brand, whether they're a boutique, whether they make products, like anyone listening, how do they build a brand that's recognizable like yours?
Ooh. It's mm, I guess my like whole thing that's gotten me as far no as I've gotten, which I have gotten nowhere near where I'd like to get, but I think that people stayed with me through all my mini squirrel adventures because I just stayed so true to my style.
Hmm.
It's so easy in the world that we live in. Like, we're so exposed to so much social media, and we do want to follow things that we love and admire. And because I don't want to get on Instagram and scroll through a bunch of crap that I don't want to look at. So, like,
Yeah.
it's hard to really hone in on your own style without like copying somebody else, but still being inspired by it, but staying true to my own style. And even if
Yeah.
it is like, oh, I want to make something like that, how can I make that the best version of me? And if it's a boutique, what are you super into? And you may think like, oh, yeah, like if it's super equestrian, like people may not be super into that, but trust me, like it may not happen overnight. But if you stay so true to the path that or your style, no matter whether you're an artist or an owner of a business, if you stay so true to your style and actually not squirrel on that part,
Yeah.
um, your people do eventually find you. And I have felt defeated over the years, like, watching somebody take a picture of their self in a mirror in a dirty room when I put 6 hours into fine tuning and a photo shoot and product and then editing. Um, I don't think that hard work was not worth it. Like I did sometimes, I had those thoughts
Mhm.
at sometimes like, why did I put so much effort into this? But then like the effort that I put in does pay off sometimes in the long run. So, like, if that's, like, what you do, like, my walls for my showroom and my walls for my, like, traveling booth, I put so much blood, sweat, and tears into those, and then I got there and people were literally just, like, unfolding a table and throwing a tablecloth down, and I was like, "Why do I kill myself, for this?" Like, everyone literally just popped up, and I had a horse trailer full of crap that I insisted on designing and bringing, even though
Yeah.
that was not the thing I'm selling. But my gosh, like the impact it made once that finally people started showing up, it paid off.
Yes.
So I feel like that was in my style, like building those adobe walls. Like was very much in my style, and it was a huge pain in the butt, but it all paid
Yeah.
off. So I guess in the long run, that would work for no matter what niche you're in.
That's so true. There's really no shortcut to success, and it is about staying true to your brand on every single level. I love that. What about and these are just a couple like lightning round questions, but
Oh Lord.
what's been the best business advice that always sticks with you?
Best business advice. Honestly, um, City Boots. She probably has no idea who I am, but I was on a call with her one time. And I had uh not this was when I was still tooling leather and I was trying to figure out a way to kind of like expand. I was kind of thinking about maybe manufacturing leather goods, which would have totally made more sense than pajamas. Um, but I always struggle with asking too much money for my products. And she said, I was asking her about wholesale, and she was like, well, whoa, 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 do you wholesale yet? And I was said no. And she goes, well, if you have any plan to wholesale in the future, you set you price your things now, whether you're wholesaling or not, like you would need them to be priced in the future when you do
Mhm.
start wholesaling. And I'm so thankful for that advice. And it
Mhm.
definitely paid off in the long run for me.
Yeah.
Um, and also, know when to say no. That
Yeah.
was it's just, that's not a super businessy thing, but knowing when to say no, because I have had to say no to people I didn't want to say no to before, but it didn't align with my goals or my brand and didn't make sense. And it felt icky, like I thought I was too good for them, but I didn't at all. That was not ever the intention. It just really wasn't like it didn't align with my goals or the look of my brand. So
Yeah.
that's paid off.
It all fits into everything you've already been saying of just being consistent, and sometimes consistency and maintaining who you are is hard, right? When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, so that
Yeah.
absolutely tracks. Yeah. Well,
Right.
Allie, I just have one last question for you, and it's kind of the big picture question. I love asking people because, life's about more than the pajamas that you're making right now or about the businesses we're creating. It's about so much more than that. So, if you were to look like fast forward 30 years down the road and you're past weaning and this day of the month of the year, and you're sitting there with your family and your friends and you're looking back at this journey that you've been on and the many iterations of this journey and the businesses you've had, what's the thing you really want people to remember most about you and how you lived and how you operated?
I hope people always felt happier when they left my presence than when they entered it. I It's so important to me because I know that I put on a brave face a lot of times when things are internally combusting. And so I want people to always remember that, like, hopefully that I was kind and hopefully humble and that they had a really good laugh with me, but before they left my presence, I want them to always feel better before they leave.
I love it. So good. Well, Allie, thanks a ton for being on today. This was so much fun to get to tell your story. Do you want to tell everyone where they can find you in Dallas Market Center and any other details? We'll link everything up in the show notes for you today as well.
Absolutely. So I am on the 10th floor in the World Trade Center at Dallas Market, and we are in showroom 10/953. And we will be there in January. And I'm hopefully going to start going to a few more markets, but it'll be more like scheduling appointments versus just being at a market since West is really the main market for that floor. And then alliefalcon.com is where you can shop me if you want to see if there's a store near you. We have a stockist area on our website.
Mhm.
And if you're an entrepreneur and you like want to learn a little bit more about the business of being a maker, being a small business owner, I have taught an entire course with Nevada Watt. She created this whole course, which I was like, if I had this course back when I started my business, it would have changed everything. It would save me so much grief. So they cover everything from like starting a website to social media marketing, how to take pictures with your phone better. I cover building a logo, how to design merch. Like if you don't know how have any skills on the computer,
Mhm.
resources to where you can hire people for that. So that's it's called Be a Maker School. And so that's a really good resource I want to throw out there too.
Awesome. I love it. Well, again, thanks so much for being here today. Congrats on all the iterations, round top. I can't wait to see all the new things that are going to come for you. So keep being awesome. I loved having you on
Thank
today.
you for being such a huge advocate for all of us, by the way, Ashley. You are such a good person. And I hope that people feel as good as I do every time they leave your presence.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.